So the other day, my dad watched March 5th, 2021, why was 8th grade the most important school year of my life, Storytime 10. He said he really enjoyed this video, however, he questioned why I didn't include a church event I took part in mid-April of 2018. I mentioned it, but it was extremely brief and had barely any significance in this video. I had two reasons for that. One, it was irrelevant, and two, I'm actually going to discuss it today. So this story time is dedicated to my dad, who gave me that idea of doing this. Anyways, the post-depression period was probably the greatest time period of my life. Many great things happened to me left and right, and I'd kill to go back to this time period. Everything seemed to go my way during this time period. I also have many memories of DNOW. DNOW was a church event that I had great memories of, as well as a major decision I made during this trip. So today, I'm going to talk about my experience at DNOW 2018. I'm Zach, and this is Storytime 12 on March 19th, 2021. So first off, what the hell is DNOW? Well, it's basically an event that many churches across the country do where you spend the night at someone's house for 2 nights with plenty of others your grade. 14 total churches in our area came together to do this event, which was held at my church. Throughout the event, you basically learn about God and how to live like a Christian. Also, I'm just going to say that if you get triggered by the fact that I mentioned God or Christianity, then get the hell out of here. You're a crybaby. I absolutely do not care about your feelings, by the way. Anyways, this is only a weekend thing. It ain't like an entire week. It ain't an entire week-long trip like Fuge was, thank God. DNOW 2018 lasts from April 13th to April 15th, so we couldn't do that anyways. You also get to serve the community by doing whatever your group is assigned. I'll mention what ours was too. Also, each DNOW, we have a certain pop culture theme surrounding it. Our theme this year was Super Mario. Each group was assigned a character we represented. Our group was Donkey Kong. Anyways, on to the backstory. So first, I want to describe how I felt about church at the time. Keyword at the time, as I have a completely different opinion now than I did 3 years ago, which I'll get to near the end of this story time. So me and my family started going to this church around May of 2017. It was a good decision, and even now I think it was a great decision. That summer, I got to meet many kids who went to my school and started getting really comfortable. I met the youth pastor, and we're still really good friends today. Everything went well. The church seemed to really care about me, and I was involved with everyone all the time. I was engaging in the activities, and it truly felt amazing. Church was also very sympathetic and very encouraging for me when I went through depression. So now let's move on to March 28th, 2018. This day, I broke both my arms trying to jump a tennis net. The church was very supportive and made sure I was okay. It felt amazing, as they were there when I needed it. I ended up having to wear a splint on my left arm. My right arm didn't need one since it wasn't that bad. And also the left one is the one I had surgery on. So me having a broken arm played a major role in DNOW 2018 for a multitude of reasons. So the first house, well not the first, but the house we stayed at provided me with my own room and bed, since it was obviously not a good idea for me to lay around on the living room floor with a broken arm. Another thing too was that I did not participate in Mega, which I'll discuss when we get there. One last thing was a chant our group did, which I'll also explain when we get there. So now let's discuss DNOW. April 13th, 2018. Wow, this night was legendary. So that night at school was awesome, and I was really hyped for this event. And I might have been underhyped because this night was even better than what I intended. So the night before, I packed my stuff using my dad's suitcase since it had wheels on it, and I literally needed wheels since I could not lift anything. Therefore, I did that. That day, I had a mental therapy session, which I don't remember much from. Afterwards, my mom went over and got me some McDonald's, and then we headed on to church. When I got there, a friend was also out there too. He helped me unload my suitcase and helped me in. Now, there were a lot of people here, but fortunately, I was able to find a place to eat. I also had like 2 friends with me while eating. Then they called us into the gym, where we did worship. We were ordered to sit with our group. This meant I was with the 8th grade boys, which I'll discuss more about later on. And also, we'll do a few more. We'll do a couple more of these as well. We'll do one in the morning of Saturday and that night of Saturday. I'll refer to these as big-ass sessions for the remainder of story time. We had a band play the music, but I can't remember their names. I do remember actually talking to a woman who was a part of the band. She was pretty nice, probably just because she saw my arm. And after they sang a few songs, we then had a speaker who gave us a message. Now, just like Fuge, I don't remember any of the lessons from the trip, as this was almost 3 years ago, so I won't really discuss them. All I do know is that I remember having so much fun there. Now we go to our host's house. The couple who hosted us were really nice, so the way it worked was that all the boys except me would sleep in the living room. I would be in a separate room due to my arm. However, I spent most of my time with the boys in the living room though. The hosts were in charge of feeding us and making sure we were comfortable, and boy we were. So one of the boys brought his PS4 up there, and we played Fortnite all night. Now, I hate Fortnite, but being with them was still pretty fun, and talking in general was fun too. We each brought snacks up there as well. I believe I brought like 2 bags of family-sized Doritos and like 2 boxes of Pop-Tarts. I also brought an entire 12-can case of Dr. Peppers. I ended up coming home with no leftovers. So now let's get on to Bible study, or the group study. Not the big-ass study. This is just group study with our group, just 8th grade boys. I should note that our hosts were not our group leaders, by the way. Our group leader was a guy named Timmy. I'm not sure where he came from, but he sounded like a pretty cool guy. After the group Bible study, he did announce we were going to come up with a chant. So we troop had to come up with a chant and basically do some acting along with it. We decided to make our theme based around the subject of DNOW that year, together. So I remember this chant really well. Even after 3 years, it goes, if we want to be effective, then we have to be together. Kind of cringy, not gonna lie, but that shit will do. Now, the reason I remember this so well is because it's so ironic, which I'll discuss later in the story time. But we also had to do something with it too. So for ours, how it worked was that every boy, except me, obviously, held up a box, and each box had a letter from the word together. I would be the only boy without a letter, since obviously I could not carry a box. So therefore, I'd be the one who hits each box, and the person would pop his box up. So the movements were even more cringy, but I mean, it wasn't that bad. I don't remember the exact motions, but it was still really cringe. So that night, we of course played even more Fortnite. I didn't play, I just talked, and I also played some Clash Royale and ate. Most of the boys stayed up all night. I didn't. Instead, I just stayed up to around 2 o'clock, and then I went to my room to go to sleep. Now it's Saturday. I woke up that morning and greeted the boys. Our host also made breakfast for us. We played a bit of Fortnite, and then Timmy came over to give us a second lesson. Afterwards, he played a little Fortnite with us, and we also practiced our chant. And then we went back to church, where once again we did a big-ass session with the entire church with music and all. No preaching this session, though. Afterwards, we went and did our service project. So each group was assigned a service project that basically would have them serve our community in one way or the other. For most groups, it was like doing planting bushes, cleaning cars, that kind of shit. For us, it was a little different due to me having a broken arm. We bought 3 cakes and delivered them to employees of random businesses. We then had our pictures taken with them. So in other words, we basically got to be Mr. Beast for our project. It was really cool, and I think we made all these people's day. We also got our picture taken with the employees as well. Now, one of the places we went in particular that I remember very well was a furniture store. And before you ask, no, it was not IKEA. We went there and delivered a cake to a couple employees working there. But what I remember most from this was getting to lay on the beds. Most of the boys, as well as Timmy, were kind of wild. I probably would have been wild too had I not broken my arm. So while everyone was acting like a bunch of chimpanzees, I was just laying on a bed playing Clash Royale. It was still really fun though. Now that our service project ended, let's discuss the big thing everyone talks about that I don't really give a shit about, Mega. So if you watched my episode on Fuge, you know that Mega was a competition between site groups. Mega worked the same way at DNOW, but between each group, and I'd say there was a lot more hype around it than Fuge. We also had to dress up, so for Mega, to represent Donkey Kong, we all wore brown shirts with red ties. Now, I did not participate in Mega at DNOW 2018 because of my arm, so therefore, I sat on the hill overlooking everyone doing Mega. During this time, I grinded a ton in Clash Royale. I managed to get from Spell Valley to Royal Arena in just one sitting. Should note this was before Clash Royale. This was like before the bots were in place. But I managed to do that. My group did not win. It was actually the 9th grade girls, who cheated because they're a bunch of loser bitches. I'm just kidding. They won fair and square. Now we reached the final big-ass worship service with everyone. Now, I have a soft spot for DNOW 2018. This would be because of this situation right here. So, I don't remember what the preacher was saying, but I remember feeling so compelled, and then out of nowhere, bam, I did it. I made the greatest decision in my entire life. I gave my life to Christ. It came instantly towards me, but I knew it. He was just calling me, and I answered him. April 14th, 2018, I will never forget. Now, normally when you give your life to Christ, you should brag to others and let everyone in the world know. That really didn't happen with me. I only told like 4 people about my decision, and I'm pretty sure those were my youth pastor, Timmy, and my parents. They were all really excited, although, of course, not as excited as me, and that's how it should be. I should be the person who's most excited. Now, I hear a lot of people say God is not real, but my testimony proves that he most definitely is real. When I gave my life to Christ, not only did my heart start racing, but I was also just more excited than I ever was or ever will be in my entire life. Like, my excitement felt extremely supernatural. No earthly thing can ever make me reach that excitement. It was just crazy, but I did it. Next step would be to publicly confess that I accepted Jesus, which I do in about a month. So now we get back home from the big-ass session. That was also our final big-ass session. I was really happy that night, obviously, but I never really told anyone, which, I mean, yeah, I should have told my friends, but considering I now have major conflict with all these people, I really can't determine if keeping it a secret was a good or a bad thing. And plus, they'd find out anyways. But oh well, I stayed up till 1 o'clock that night and then went to bed. So now we reach Sunday. I remember waking up that morning and then around 8 o'clock, we headed on to church. So this would be where we get to present our chants and do all of that other bullshit. Ours is pretty cringe, as mentioned before. I mean, screaming, if we want to be together, then we have to be effective I said that so poorly. Let's try that again. If we want to be together, I can't say, I can't talk today. If we want to be effective, then we have to be together. Over and over was really cringy in general. But then just me with a broken arm made it even more cringy. Oh well, thank God I don't remember much from that event. So now I finally got to see my parents again. Of course, I texted them last night letting them know I made the decision, and when they picked me up, they were thrilled. They both were really happy, and I can't blame them. Knowing your son is spending eternity with y'all should know that both of my parents are also saved as well. That must be an amazing feeling. So now I'm done discussing DNOW as a whole. Let's discuss the aftermath. So I'm going to jump about 1 month later. So Sunday, May 13th, 2018, it was Mother's Day, but it wasn't just Mother's Day. No, it was the day I got baptized. This was such an amazing day. All of my family came over to go to my church to see me that day. My dad also recorded me being baptized. It was such an amazing and magical experience. I also remember arriving at youth that day and the whole youth just clapping and cheering me on. I also remember my Sunday school being really supportive and very excited. I also became really good friends with everyone at church and met new people during this time too. Unfortunately though, I would lose my friendship with everyone because of the next church trip. So the next church trip we went to was Fuge. I won't discuss it much since I already made an entire story time about it, but I will discuss it briefly since the first day had a major impact on me and the boys I was friends with at DNOW. So the first day of Fuge took place June 18th, 2018, and wow, this day was very shitty. So I was really hyped for this trip. I mean, why wouldn't I? I was going to be with my friends for an entire week, and I thought we were all going to get to know each other better. Turns out the opposite occurred. So throughout Fuge, I was left out. The first day in particular puts the biggest spotlight on the stone. So we had to find someone to room with. I tried to room with some of the boys, but they all said no and all had room with each other, meaning I was left out and ridiculed for not having a roommate. As a result, the trip was a total disaster. Therefore, I had to share a room with 2 others. One of them was really nice, at least, and felt sorry for me when we became good friends. However, I had to move a mattress to this room, and long behold, everyone started laughing at me and questioning me. I learned that afterwards that no, these are not my friends. These are a bunch of assholes who were not loyal at all. I tried making this up throughout freshman year and attempted to restore our friendships, but it failed, as I was still being left out no matter how hard I tried. So I decided to just leave myself out of everything at church on purpose since these boys are a bunch of fakes. Today, while I don't leave myself out from other grades anymore, I still leave myself out from all the other juniors since they're all a bunch of fakes and they're a bunch of pussies. So, unfortunately, the friendship with these boys did not last, but I still have very great memories, and I cherish them a lot. These boys, before they revealed their true colors, were blessings in my life and helped me make the post-depression period possibly the greatest time period of my life. DNOW was the best example of this, and so while these boys aren't who they look like, I'm still thankful that they helped encourage me through depression and celebrated with me in the post-depression period. So, what are my thoughts on DNOW 2018? Well, this event was possibly one of the best events I ever took part in. So many memories, so much fun, me making the best decision in my life. Everything about DNOW was amazing. While it might look like my arm hindered my experience, I'd argue it actually made my experience better since people cared about me and were giving me attention. Overall, it was such an amazing experience and I'm happy I participated in. So if DNOW 2018 was so good, why didn't I participate in DNOW 2019 or 2020? Well, for 2019, I was in the same conflict with everyone in my grade that I am today, so that's why I didn't go. I also went on a trip with them in January of 2019, which I'll discuss for next week's story time. But basically, it was about as shitty as Fuge. Afterwards, I promised myself that I will never go on another church trip, so I didn't go to DNOW 2019. As for 2020, that got cancelled because of coronavirus. I didn't sign up for it anyway, so it didn't really affect me. Now, I just said that I promised in freshman year that I would never go on another church trip again. Well, on April 23rd, 2021, I'm going to be breaking that promise. Yep, I decided to sign up for DNOW 2021 and be with these same people because I'm a dumbass. Nah, I've already made arrangements with my youth pastor that I will be paired up with the 9th grade boys instead, since he knows about the conflict between me and the rest of the 11th graders. So I'm very excited about this. And wow, my throat just went. My throat just said no. And considering I have a soft spot for DNOW 2000, or just DNOW, I think it will be amazing. In fact, my story time for April 30th, 2021 will literally be about my experience at DNOW 2021, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, that's all I got for today's story time. I hope you guys did enjoy it. Next week, on March 26, 2021, I will be discussing my experience at Winter Retreat 2019. Anyways, that's all I got, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye!